That is Mark Grandy. Please follow him on social at Mark Grandy, Mark with a C, Grandy with an I. My name is Evan Giddings. You can follow me on social at eGiddings10. Please download, rate, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Okay, Mark. Well, speaking of overreactions, let's just move on to, in a weird way, almost it feels more likely than even the Aaron Rodgers thing to me. Maybe 1% less from, I don't know, the 2% probability of Aaron Rodgers being in the Bay. But Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, who was also the guy that floated this NFL scouting combine, broader league circle discussion about a trade between San Francisco and Minnesota for Kirk Cousins, recently said that, hey, what might be a good idea? As you framed it beautifully, Mark, what might be a good idea? How about the New England Patriots and the San Francisco 49ers swap 2021 first-round picks, Trey Lance and McCorkle Jones? That's Mac Jones, for those who are wondering about the alias, his government name. Mark, I mean, I don't really know what to say about it, honestly, but it's, I don't know if it's comical or it's dumb or it's the off season. We'll put it that way. It is an NFL off season. And as members who, follow the 49ers have to discuss all these different rumors that are out there. What'd you think?
Oh my, your word was right. Comical. This is comical. It is embarrassing. This is so incredibly far-fetched and just flat out stupid that I, for one, am embarrassed that we have to discuss this. It is so incredibly far out there that it's just absolutely wild that this is an actual thought that is out there. And again, I don't think there's any actual reporting about this. It's just, you're talking and suddenly something comes out of your mouth and then Twitter takes it over and suddenly it becomes a story. This is absolutely ridiculous. There is no chance that if the 49ers are dead set on trading Trey Lance, they do it for Mac Jones. I know that there was all the talk about Mac Jones is a quarterback that Kyle Shanahan loves going into that 2021 NFL draft. And the reports are others in the Niners organization had to talk Kyle Shanahan out of drafting Mac Jones because they wanted someone with higher upside, more athleticism, a stronger arm, all of that, whatever. Throw all of that away. It does not matter because what is the reality of these two quarterbacks now? You still don't really know about Trey Lance, and Mac Jones seems average at best. And there's a reason why Bill Belichick is reportedly shopping Mac Jones around the NFL right now, and that's why the Niners got brought up as a potential suitor for Mac Jones, because Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots have not been impressed by Mac Jones. Yes, he had a decent rookie year, helped the Patriots get to the playoffs. They were under 500 this year, and I know they didn't have a lot of offensive talent around him. It's not the easiest, offensive system for a quarterback to shine in, especially a young one. I know that. But if the 49ers are moving off of Trey Lance, which does seem likely, Evan, they are not doing it for Mac Jones, who has a bunch of questions about his ability as well. I'm sorry. This is absolutely out of left field, and there is zero chance that it happens.
Yeah, I'm with you. I also, with all due respect, of course, to Michael McCorkle Jones, I wouldn't want him. I'm sorry. I wouldn't. And I think that's one of the reasons, okay, so my mind immediately goes to the last couple of off seasons where I've been like the hotbed of quarterback rumors. Last year, I believe it was Denver because they had a wide open competition. I guess you could say Seattle, although they sort of remedied that with their trade to Denver. New Orleans has kind of been in the cycle. I know a few years ago it was Tampa Bay, and then Tom Brady ended up going there. Yeah. I am confused a little bit why San Francisco is the location that the majority of media members, both at a local and national level, tend to, and we do this too, Mark, tend to automatically throw names into. And I don't know if it's because there's just uncertainty in this quarterback room compared to others, but I would argue that the New England quarterback room is more in shambles than in San Francisco. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a reason why Mac Jones is in these trade rumors, whether it be to potentially Carolina or around the rest of the NFL. It's like they had Bailey Zappi, a Western Kentucky, I forget the mascot, come in and like perform well, and so I don't know who's the quarterback that they like there, and I know that Kyle Shanahan has had some affiliation with Mac Jones, and who really knows if he ended up wanting him or if he didn't. Those were the reports. Back in the day, he clearly favored Kirk Cousins over Robert Griffin III, and sort of waited that out for his time to sort of move in with maybe his guy, if that's what you want to believe. But it does, I think it does beg the question mark, like, why is every quarterback that is even potentially available automatically linked to the 49ers?
That's a fantastic question. One that I've been trying to figure out for the last few weeks because it's getting ridiculous. All of these quarterbacks that are just seems a given that they're suddenly connected to the 49ers. Um, I think there was a point in the offseason, Evan, where these conversations could be, in my mind, legitimate. And that was before the signing of Javon Hargrave. We talked about this offseason before that big move, before free agency opened. You and I talked here on the 415ers. Um, do we think the Niners have a big move in them this offseason? Or do we think it's just kind of par for the course, retain some of your key free agents, make a signing here or there? Maybe you don't get anyone on the level of, Mooney Ward that you did last offseason, no one that has that big of an impact in the coming year, but you still have a solid offseason. You avoid the huge roster upheaval, you retain guys, you make some under the radar signings here, and you set yourself up for pretty good success in the coming season. That's how I thought it was going to go, but there was part of me in the back of my head thinking, with the Christian McCaffrey move, with everything that's happening on the roster, given all of the gigantic contracts that they have, part of me thinks they might go and try to break the bank for a big move. And until that big move happened, Evan, it was possible in my mind that that could have been for a quarterback. If they were convinced Trey Lance wasn't good enough, if they were worried long term about Brock Purdy's elbow, or maybe they thought that he was a flash in the pan, maybe their big move, which they really only have room for one big move this offseason, maybe that big move would be for a quarterback. Maybe it would be waiting out the Lamar Jackson saga. Maybe it would be trying to get Kirk Cousins. Maybe it would be Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. I'm just throwing out some of the names that have been linked and that we've talked about. But ever since they made that move and they signed Javon Hargrave, Evan, to that big contract that ate up a lot of their free cap space, all of that flexibility left. And in my mind, they had zero room to make a big move, to make a big splash again. They had room for one big move this offseason. They have already made it. The Niners, the rest of their moves this offseason will be under the radar on the margins. Nothing that makes that much big news. They are done in that area. And considering that most of us thought they weren't going to make one big move this offseason, the fact that they did make one, I think is surprising and a pretty big sign. But after that one, I'm sorry, there's just no more room for anything big again this offseason.
And in order to make that move, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan had to go to Jed York and basically, I don't want to say beg, but ask him for more money and see if we can make this thing happen to go all in potentially to try and win a Super Bowl this season. Now, if you want to argue that I guess distribution of money was improperly spent, that's a different conversation. But I do think that you're correct about they've already made their splash move. Like
Yep.
Hargrave was the guy, and they found, I don't want to say an inefficiency in the market, but they found a place where, compared to what offensive linemen were being paid, which is a spot you could argue they needed an upgrade. Um, and then defensive line, which they also needed to address. And we saw in the NFC Championship, they found the guy who's at the top of the class and is arguably the best at his position, and we're able to get him for money lesser than some of those top offensive linemen that we're talking about, Mike McGlinchey included. So, no, I'm with you. I think that these quarterback rumors and my question of why San Francisco is kind of picked as the spot to just, hey, Mac Jones, how would that look? Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, how would this all try and figure out? Is because there is, I think, an external uncertainty about that room. And I do think, and this is actually something maybe we can talk about next week, I do think that there is room for doubt as far as whether this quarterback situation is going to work this year because you got a lot of different moving pieces. And last season, you were able to thread the needle, but I think we can all agree it was due to some luck and some fortune having Mr. Irrelevant turn out to be a guy that could lead you to 8 victories. So um, we're definitely going to keep an eye on it. Who knows, Mark? By the end of this weekend, we might have another 2 quarterback rumors, 2
Probably will.
quarterbacks linked to the 49ers.